I gave the alien queen a ring. Is that a marriage proposal? She asked. Ethan Cole had never been to a place like this before. The alien palace stretched high into the sky, with towers that shimmered in colors he had never seen. The air smelled strange, a mix of metal and flowers, and the floor beneath him was smooth and cold, reflecting his own uncertain face. Humans had been warned about the alien empire, called the Xerians, for decades. They were powerful, proud, and feared across many star systems. But Ethan was not afraid. He had a mission, and he believed in humans even if the aliens did not. He walked through the long hall with his head held high, though his heart beat fast. Soldiers lined the walls, their armor shiny and sharp, their faces serious and alien. They looked down on him, the human envoy, as if he were a small insect trying to climb a mountain. Ethan reminded himself that humans were underestimated everywhere they went. That was a gift. They thought humans were weak and reckless, but humans had courage that no other species had seen. He took a deep breath and tried to calm his nerves. At the end of the hall, the doors opened into a large room. The walls glowed with a soft light, and strange tapestries showed scenes of war and peace across the galaxy. At the far end of the room, sitting on a throne taller than any human building, was Queen Larissa. She was taller than most humans, with eyes like liquid silver that seemed to look through his soul. Her crown was not made of gold, but of a shining crystal that pulsed as if alive. Every motion she made was graceful, yet it carried power. Ethan knew that one wrong step could cost him everything, maybe even his life. The court was quiet, but he could feel the tension. Aliens of every kind were present, some tall, some short, some with skin like metal, others with scales. They whispered among themselves, curious and suspicious. A human had never been in their royal court before. They had heard of humans from other star systems, but most stories painted them as violent and reckless. Ethan knew he had a chance to change that view, if only for a moment. He stepped forward, bowing slightly, though not in fear but in respect. The human way was to show honor without losing strength. Ethan held something small in his hand, hidden beneath his sleeve. It was a ring, simple, made of silver, with a small blue stone in the center. It was not valuable in a galactic sense, but it was precious to him. His mother had given it to him before she died, saying that it was a symbol of trust and hope. He had carried it with him through the long journey across space, through battles and negotiations, through danger and uncertainty. Now he held it before the most powerful alien in the galaxy. Queen Larissa's eyes focused on him, curious and calculating. She raised one hand and the whispers stopped immediately. "Human," she said, her voice soft but echoing through the room, "why are you here? Do you come with weapons as all your kind have before? Or do you come with words knowing they are weaker than actions?" Ethan straightened. "I come with neither weapons nor threats," he said. "I come with this." He extended his hand and revealed the ring. The room gasped. Aliens stepped back, murmuring. Some covered their mouths in disbelief. To the Xerians, giving a ring was not just a gesture. It meant a permanent bond, a connection that could not be broken. Some thought it could even be a challenge to the throne. Ethan did not know these customs. He only knew that the ring symbolized peace and trust, not power or challenge. Queen Larissa tilted her head, her silver eyes narrowing. "Is that a marriage proposal?" she asked, her voice carrying a mixture of amusement and suspicion. The court froze. No one expected a human to do something like this. A few nobles whispered among themselves, some angry, some shocked, some laughing quietly. But Ethan did not smile or hesitate. He met her gaze. "It is not a proposal in your way," he said. "It is a promise that humans want peace and understanding, that we can choose trust over fear." The queen studied him, her expression unreadable. Ethan felt the weight of every eye in the room on him, measuring, judging. If he failed, it would not only be his life, but the reputation of humanity that would suffer. Queen Larissa rose from her throne. She was taller than Ethan had expected, and every step she took was deliberate, powerful. She stopped a few meters away and held out her hand, her fingers long and elegant. "You are brave, human," she said, "or perhaps foolish. Do you know what you are doing? Do you understand what this means to my people?" Ethan nodded. "I understand that it may confuse you, but I also understand that humans are judged not by size, strength, or weapons, but by heart and choices. I offer this ring to show that humans are not only capable of strength, but also of trust." The queen looked at the ring again, then back at him. The court whispered, but she raised her hand, demanding silence. "You are unlike any human I have ever met," she said softly. "You offer a symbol of peace, yet you stand here knowing it could be seen as a challenge. You are either brave or foolish, or perhaps both." She paused, studying him, and then said, "You will stay in my palace. I will watch you. You will not leave until I understand if humans are worthy of my trust." Ethan bowed again, this time with relief. He had expected hostility, perhaps even an immediate execution, but instead, the queen chose observation. That was humanity's first victory here. He was given a chance to show what humans were truly capable of. The palace was unlike any place he had ever been. Servants moved silently, alien creatures of every shape and color, some floating, some crawling. They watched him with suspicion, yet some nodded in recognition of his calm behavior. Ethan spent his first hours learning the rules, speaking slowly, and showing respect to the alien staff. He helped a young servant carry trays of food, careful not to make a mistake. One of the smaller nobles whispered, "Humans are strange. They do not fear, yet they respect." Ethan smiled quietly. That was exactly what he wanted them to see. Later, he was brought to a room with large windows that showed the stars. He could see distant planets, ships moving silently, and the vast emptiness of space. Here, he reflected on why he had done what he did. The ring was more than a symbol. It was a message to the galaxy. Humans could be trusted. Humans could act with courage without arrogance. Humans could face the unknown and make choices that were right, even when they were dangerous. The night came, and the palace grew quiet. Ethan sat near the window, holding the ring. He thought about his mother, about the humans he had left behind, about the stories of humans fighting and surviving against impossible odds. He realized that this moment, small and strange as it was, might be remembered for generations. A human had offered a gift of trust to an alien queen, and the galaxy watched. The next morning, Queen Larissa returned. She did not speak at first, only observing Ethan. She asked questions about humans, about their culture, their choices, their battles. Ethan answered honestly, never exaggerating, never lying. He told her stories of humans helping each other, of humans protecting other species without asking for reward. She listened, sometimes skeptical, sometimes intrigued. The court watched as a human explained his species not as monsters or conquerors, but as beings capable of love, sacrifice, and courage. By the end of the day, Ethan had made small changes in the Queen's court. Some nobles smiled at him, others still whispered, but there was a new respect in the air. He had done nothing extraordinary yet, no battles, no wars, no heroic acts. Only a small human gesture, a simple ring, a promise of trust. Yet it was enough to make the Queen pause and consider. Humans were unpredictable, humans were dangerous, but perhaps not in the way anyone expected. Ethan went to sleep that night in the guest chambers. The walls were smooth, the bed strange but comfortable. He held the ring close and thought about what tomorrow might bring. He did not know if he would survive, if he would be sent home, or if the court would finally see humans as allies. But he did know this. He had already taken the first step. He had shown that humans could be more than fear and violence. Humans could be brave, thoughtful, and trustworthy. Outside the palace, the stars shone like tiny flames in the dark. Ships moved silently across the galaxy, some carrying soldiers, some carrying diplomats, some carrying secrets. The human envoy, small in the vastness of space, held a ring that could change the fate of worlds. He had no weapon, no fleet, no army. Only trust, courage, and a small piece of silver with a blue stone. And somehow he believed that was enough. The morning after Ethan Cole offered the ring, the palace was quiet, but the air was thick with tension. Aliens whispered in corners, their voices low and sharp. Some were angry, some confused, some afraid. The nobles could not decide if the human had insulted the queen, challenged her, or done something so strange it could not be understood. Humans had always been wild, unpredictable, and violent in stories. But now one human stood in the center of their court, offering a gift that no one could define. Ethan moved carefully through the halls. Every step was measured. He bowed when he passed the smaller nobles, kept his hands visible, and spoke with calm confidence. The palace staff stared at him. Some tried to avoid his eyes, unsure how to react. Others were curious, watching closely. One small servant with green skin and large round eyes followed him quietly. Ethan noticed her and smiled. She was no threat, just a child of the Empire learning her place. "You are strange for a human," she whispered. "You do not seem afraid." "I have reason to be careful," Ethan said softly, "but I will not act without respect." The child nodded, as if she understood something she could not explain. Humans were not like other species. That much she could feel. Meanwhile, in the main council chamber, Queen Larissa met with her advisors. Her silver eyes glowed in the dim light. "The human offered me a ring," she said. "He claims it is a sign of peace. He says humans can be trusted. What do you think?" The advisors were tense. One tall alien with blue scales and 3 eyes hissed, "Your Majesty, humans are unpredictable. They are dangerous. They fight without reason. A ring cannot change their nature." Another, smaller and covered in golden feathers, shook her head. "We do not understand him. Perhaps he is testing you. Perhaps it is an insult." A third, older and covered in metallic skin, spoke slowly. "It is neither insult nor threat, Queen, but giving a ring means a permanent bond. If he meant this as humans do, he could be claiming you or your throne. You must act carefully." Queen Larissa considered their words. She was not afraid, but she knew humans were dangerous in ways no one could predict. "I will observe him," she said quietly. "I will see what kind of human he is before passing judgment. The council will wait for my command." Across the palace, rumors spread like fire. The human had offered a ring. Some whispered that he intended to marry the queen. Others feared he planned to take the throne. A few laughed at the idea. "Humans are small and fragile," they said. "How could one human challenge the empire?" Ethan felt the eyes of the court follow him everywhere. He had no weapon, no army, no magic. Only himself and the symbol he carried. He knew he could not rely on fear or strength. He had to show humans were more than stories of violence. He had to act with patience, courage, and honesty. The first test came that afternoon. A group of young nobles decided to humiliate him. They led him to a training hall, a place where alien warriors practiced combat. Their goal was to show that humans were weak, to embarrass him in front of the palace. "Human," one of them said, his voice sharp and metallic. "Do you know how to fight? Can you even lift a weapon?" Ethan looked around. There were staffs, swords, and strange devices that hummed with energy. He had trained with human weapons, yes, but these were unlike anything he had seen. Still, he did not back down. He took a deep breath. "I know how to defend myself," he said. "I know how to protect others." The nobles laughed. "You cannot protect the queen," one said. "You cannot even protect yourself." Ethan did not respond with words. He only picked up one of the staffs and moved carefully. He did not strike aggressively, but he blocked every attack, ducked every swing, and moved with balance. The humans in training would have called it discipline. The aliens watched in shock. None had expected a human to move like this. Humans were small, yes, but Ethan's movements showed control, courage, and focus. After the sparring ended, the queen entered the room. She had been observing from above unseen. "Enough," she said. "The human is not here to fight for sport. He is here to show character. You have insulted him without reason. Apologize." The nobles looked ashamed. They had underestimated him as many had done with humans before. Ethan bowed to the queen, showing respect. She nodded slightly, as if approving. The court whispered, realizing that humans were not like other species. They were dangerous not only with strength, but with intelligence, courage, and patience. Later that evening, Ethan walked through the gardens of the palace. The gardens were enormous, filled with plants that glowed softly, creatures that hummed and floated. He saw children of the Empire playing and some servants working quietly. A young alien approached him, curious. "You do not fear us," she said. "Why?" Ethan smiled. "Fear is natural," he said, "but it cannot control my choices. I choose to act with respect, courage, and honesty. That is stronger than fear." She considered his words and nodded slowly. Humans were strange indeed, but perhaps there was wisdom in their ways. The next day a problem arose. A minor attack had been reported on a nearby colony. Pirates, or so the initial report said. The council debated whether to send a fleet and how to respond. Ethan asked to speak. "Queen Larissa," he said, "humans have experience with small, unexpected attacks. We have faced situations like this before. Let me advise, perhaps we can avoid unnecessary war." The advisors laughed. "A human advising the queen, you are foolish," one said. "You cannot understand galactic strategy." Ethan remained calm. "I do not ask to command. I ask only to share knowledge. Humans have survived in dangerous conditions by thinking carefully, acting quickly, and protecting others. That is all I offer." Queen Larissa considered this carefully. She had seen courage in humans before in reports from other worlds, but she had never seen a human in her own court, speaking directly to her. Something about Ethan's calm confidence intrigued her. She nodded slowly. "Very well, speak." Ethan explained how humans approached danger. He told of their training, their teamwork, and their focus on protecting the weak. He outlined a plan that avoided unnecessary casualties while ensuring safety. The council listened, some skeptical, some surprised. By the end of the discussion, the queen decided to follow Ethan's advice. The fleet was sent, and the attack was handled efficiently. No unnecessary lives were lost. Rumors of the human envoy spread quickly. Across the empire, news reached nobles and citizens alike. A human had offered a ring to the queen, had defended himself against skilled warriors, and had advised on matters of life and war. Some were shocked. Others were curious. Many whispered that humans were dangerous, but not in the way they had believed. They were unpredictable, yes, but also capable of courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. Back in the palace, Ethan spent his time observing, helping, and learning. He spoke with servants, listened to children, and learned about the ways of the empire. Queen Larissa often watched him from a distance, studying his choices. She realized that humans could not be judged by stories or fear. Humans acted by choice, and their choices often surprised others. One night, a small incident tested him further. A servant had accidentally spilled a glowing liquid, causing panic in the kitchen. Aliens froze, unsure how to handle it. Ethan calmly moved forward. He directed the creatures safely, contained the spill, and ensured no one was hurt. The aliens whispered among themselves. Even without weapons, the human had prevented disaster. The queen noticed this. "He acts without concern for himself," she said quietly. "He thinks of others first. That is not instinct. That is choice. Humans are not monsters, but beings capable of great courage." Ethan slept that night knowing he had made small victories. He had not fought wars, conquered worlds, or displayed extraordinary power. He had acted with patience, respect, and courage. And in doing so, he had begun to change the perception of humans in the alien empire. By the end of the week, the court began to speak of him differently. Some nobles still whispered doubts. Others nodded with newfound respect. The Queen's decision to keep him in the palace was no longer just curiosity, it was observation. The human envoy had shown that humans could act with wisdom, courage, and honor, even in a place where they were feared. Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was watching. The Empire had judged humans by stories, legends, and fear. He had to continue proving that humans were capable of more than violence. They were capable of empathy, sacrifice, and trust. And he had a small ring, a simple piece of silver with a blue stone, that reminded him every day of why he was here. The galaxy might not understand humans yet, but they were beginning to see a new truth. Humans were dangerous, not because of what they could destroy, but because of what they could choose to protect. The next morning, Ethan Cole woke early. The palace was quiet, the soft glow of alien lights reflecting on the walls. For days, he had moved carefully through the halls, observing the routines of the court, helping servants and speaking only when necessary. He had learned to read expressions, even on faces very different from human ones, but today felt different. A tension had settled over the palace, heavier than before. Something was coming. He did not have to wait long. A loud alarm echoed through the corridors. Aliens ran past him, some shouting, some moving calmly but quickly. Queen Larissa appeared on her balcony, her silver eyes sharp. Ethan followed her gaze and saw the cause. A group of small alien ships was approaching the palace from the nearby star system. The ships were not from their empire. They carried hostile markings that he did not recognize, but their intent was clear. They were coming to attack. The court reacted immediately. Soldiers prepared weapons and nobles shouted commands. Panic ran through the palace staff. Some hid, unsure of what to do. Ethan stood still, observing. He could see fear, confusion, and chaos. Humans faced situations like this often. What mattered was not fear, but action. He stepped forward, raising his hands for attention. "Queen Larissa," he called, "I have faced attacks like this. I can help you coordinate a defense." The advisors froze. One of them hissed, "He is just a human. He cannot command fleets or coordinate defenses." Ethan ignored them. "Listen," he said. "First, secure the civilians. Move them to the inner chambers. Second, position your soldiers where they can protect the palace entrances. Third, focus on defense, not attack. Let them come to us. We are stronger here and we can survive without unnecessary loss." The queen watched him closely. Her silver eyes narrowed. She could see the calm in his voice, the certainty in his movements. Humans often acted recklessly, she had been told, but this one was different. She nodded slowly. "Very well," she said. "We will follow your advice, for now." Ethan moved quickly. He ran through the palace, directing servants to secure doors, guiding civilians to safe areas, and helping soldiers position themselves. Some of the younger nobles laughed quietly, whispering that a human could not understand their defenses. But as the first hostile ships arrived, their laughter died. Ethan's plan worked. The palace gates were secure, defensive turrets positioned correctly, and civilians were out of danger. When the first enemy ship fired, the palace defenses responded efficiently. Laser beams lit the dark space, hitting ships with precision. Some of the intruders were destroyed immediately, others retreated, surprised by the palace's readiness. The court watched in awe. They had expected chaos. They had expected panic. But the human had kept them organized. A loud explosion shook part of the palace wall. Dust and debris fell. Some soldiers screamed. Ethan did not hesitate. He ran toward the damage, assessing the situation. A group of soldiers had been trapped under fallen beams. Without thinking, he lifted a large piece of metal, using every bit of human strength and technique he knew. He freed the trapped soldiers, helping them to safety. They looked at him in shock. Humans were small, yes, but he acted as if nothing could stop him. Queen Larissa observed from above. She realized something important. Humans were not merely physically strong. They had courage that came from choice. They acted even when fear was present, even when danger was real. They protected others because they wanted to, not because laws or instincts forced them. This was something the Xerians had never fully understood. As the battle continued outside, Ethan moved through the palace, checking every entrance, ensuring that no one was left vulnerable. He spoke calmly to the soldiers. "Do not panic. Focus on protecting lives. We do not need to destroy them all. We only need to survive and protect those inside." The alien nobles who had mocked him before began to take notice. His instructions were simple, yet effective. They followed his lead, and slowly, the tide of panic turned. The intruder ships were forced to retreat after suffering heavy losses, unable to breach the palace defenses. The court cheered quietly, realizing that a human had saved them from disaster without a single weapon of mass destruction, without relying on fleets or reinforcements. After the battle, the palace was quiet again. Smoke and debris filled some corridors, and soldiers moved quickly to repair the damage. Civilians came out of hiding, looking shaken but unharmed. Ethan walked through the halls, checking on everyone. He helped a young alien child whose toy had been crushed in the attack, reassured an older servant who had lost her family temporarily, and guided soldiers to repair weak points in the defenses. Queen Larissa approached him then, her silver eyes softening. "You have done more than I expected, human," she said. "You faced danger with calm, you protected lives, and you acted with judgment. Most humans would have panicked. Most would have fought recklessly. But you acted wisely. You have shown me that your people are not as simple as the stories say." Ethan bowed. "I only did what any human would do, Your Majesty. We protect those we can. That is our choice." The queen studied him for a long moment. "Your choice has changed my view of humans. But the Empire may not understand so easily. Many will continue to fear your people. Many will continue to see humans as violent and reckless. You will need to show them more." "I am ready," Ethan said. "I will do whatever I can to prove that humans can be trusted." Over the next few days, the palace slowly returned to normal. Repairs were made and the court settled into routines again. But something had changed. The whispering of nobles had shifted from doubt to cautious curiosity. The queen, too, watched Ethan with a new respect. She sent him to meet with other envoys from distant planets, some hostile, some neutral. Ethan's calm and clear words, his honesty and courage impressed many of them. They had expected fear, deception, or aggression. Instead, they found reason, intelligence, and bravery. One evening, a small delegation of alien leaders came to speak with the queen. Ethan was present as an observer, though he was quietly prepared to assist if needed. The leaders were tense. They had heard of the humans' actions during the attack and wanted to see for themselves if humans were truly different. "You have allowed this human to remain in your palace," one of them said. "Does he not insult you? Does he not challenge your authority?" Queen Larissa's silver eyes met theirs. "He has done nothing but protect my people, advise wisely, and act with honor. That is more than most of your kind can claim. Humans are different than the stories suggest. I am observing and learning." The leaders whispered among themselves. They were uncertain. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but the human envoy had acted with wisdom and courage that they could not ignore. Later, Ethan spoke with the queen privately. "Your people may still fear humans," he said. "But you do not. You have seen that we can act with reason and care, even in danger." Queen Larissa nodded. "I have seen that, and I wonder how many humans are like you. How many can act with such courage and calm in the face of fear?" "Many, Your Majesty," Ethan said. "Humans can be reckless, yes, but many choose to act with courage to protect others and to make wise decisions. That is our greatest strength." The queen smiled faintly. "You may be right. Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated your kind for too long. Perhaps it is time to reconsider old beliefs." In the days that followed, Ethan continued to show his value not with weapons, but with action. He trained soldiers in human methods of teamwork, showing them how to move efficiently, communicate clearly, and protect each other. He helped the servants organize supplies, making sure that food and medicine were available even in emergencies. He spoke with children, teaching them lessons of courage and choice, of acting wisely even when fear is present. Slowly, the court began to change. Nobles who had laughed or mocked him began to show respect. Some asked questions about humans, about their culture, their battles, their history. Ethan answered honestly, never boasting, never exaggerating. He showed that humans were not conquerors or monsters, but beings capable of courage, sacrifice, and trust. One day, the queen called him to her chambers. She handed him the ring he had given her. "You offered this as a symbol of trust," she said. "And you have shown that your people can honor such trust. I will keep it, not as a promise of marriage, but as a reminder that humans can be more than the galaxy expects." Ethan accepted the ring with a bow. "Thank you, Your Majesty. That is all I hope to show." The queen studied him closely. "Your courage has done more than save the palace. It has begun to change the way the Empire views humans. But be warned. There will be others who test you, who doubt you, who seek to see humans fail. You must continue to act with wisdom and courage, or all your efforts could be undone." "I understand," Ethan said. "I will not fail." As he left her chambers, he realized something important. Humans were judged by their actions, not by stories, size, or weapons. And a single human, acting with courage and choice, could change perceptions across an entire empire. He had faced danger, chaos, and fear, and survived not because of strength, but because of bravery, calm, and the will to protect others. The palace was no longer a place of fear and doubt for him. It was a place of observation, challenge, and opportunity. And Ethan Cole knew that the true test of humanity's worth was still to come. The galaxy was watching, and humans had begun to show that they were more than anyone had believed. The morning air in the palace was quiet, almost peaceful. But Ethan Cole knew better. Peace in the alien empire was fragile. Even after his actions during the last attack, many nobles still whispered doubts about humans. Some feared them, others were curious, but none fully trusted them. Ethan understood that trust could not be demanded. It had to be earned moment by moment through action and choice. That day, a message arrived from the edge of the empire. A fleet of hostile ships had attacked a small human colony on the outskirts of Xerian space. The colony had sent a distress signal, and it was urgent. The Empire could ignore it, but Queen Larissa looked at Ethan and asked for his counsel. "They expect us to ignore the humans," one advisor said. "They believe humans are weak and unworthy. Shall we prove them right?" Ethan shook his head. "Your Majesty, ignoring them would allow destruction. Humans may be small in number, but they are important. Protecting them shows strength, not weakness." The Queen studied him. "Very well, human. You will lead a small team to assist the colony. You may not command the fleet, but your advice will guide them." Ethan nodded. He knew this would be dangerous. The enemy ships were fast and unpredictable. The humans in the colony were vulnerable, but he also knew that this was an opportunity. If he could protect them, the Empire would see humans not as reckless fighters, but as capable, courageous, and intelligent beings. He gathered a team of soldiers and pilots from the palace. Many were skeptical, unfamiliar with humans, and unsure why a human envoy was in charge. Ethan did not argue. He spoke clearly and calmly, explaining the plan. "We must protect the colony first," he said. "Do not engage the enemy unnecessarily. Focus on shields, evacuation, and coordination. Fight only when needed. If we act together, we can succeed without unnecessary loss." The team hesitated at first. Some whispered to each other, doubting that a human could lead them. But as the fleet moved into position, they began to follow Ethan's instructions. His calm, confident voice carried authority, not through fear, but through reason. When they arrived near the colony, the situation was worse than expected. Enemy ships were already firing on settlements. Civilians ran for cover, and the human defenders were overwhelmed. Ethan assessed the scene quickly. The colony's shields were failing, and the enemy ships were too fast for traditional defenses. "Deploy the mobile shields," Ethan ordered. "Focus on protecting civilian zones first. Let the enemy waste energy on shields. We will counter only when necessary." The soldiers hesitated, but Ethan moved among them, showing exactly how to operate the alien technology. He coordinated the shield networks, moving quickly from console to console. His instructions were simple, clear, and effective. Slowly, the shield stabilized, protecting the civilians from the enemy fire. The enemy ships tried to break through, but the shield network held. Ethan noticed one ship moving toward the colony's main power grid. If it struck, the colony would be destroyed. Without hesitation, he ran to a smaller interceptor craft. The pilots were shocked to see a human take control. "I will stop that ship," Ethan said simply. "Cover me if needed." He piloted the craft himself, relying on instinct and training. Humans often adapted quickly, and his mind worked faster than any computer could predict. The enemy ship turned to engage him, expecting an easy target. But Ethan was careful, moving with precision. He hit the ship's engines, disabling it without destroying it. The enemy craft drifted helplessly, forced to retreat. Back at the colony, soldiers and civilians watched in awe. A human had risked himself to protect them. No one had expected such courage. Some whispered quietly, realizing that humans could be brave and smart, not reckless and violent as the stories claimed. Queen Larissa observed from the fleet command station. Her silver eyes narrowed, then softened. "He acts without fear," she said quietly. "He does not seek glory. He seeks to protect. This is what humans are capable of if only the galaxy gives them a chance." The battle continued for hours. Ethan guided the defenders, showing them how to organize, communicate, and act with purpose. He evacuated civilians from danger zones, coordinated supply drops, and directed countermeasures against the enemy ships. By nightfall, the enemy had retreated, unable to breach the defenses. The colony was safe. Afterward, Ethan walked among the survivors. Children hugged him, grateful for his protection. Adults shook his hand, some with tears in their eyes. They had not only survived, but they had seen firsthand the courage and wisdom of a human. "You are a hero," one of the colony leaders said. Ethan shook his head. "I did what anyone would do," he said simply. "Humans protect those they can. That is all." News of the victory spread quickly through the empire. Nobles who had doubted humans began to whisper praise. Reports reached distant planets that a human envoy had saved a colony from destruction without a fleet or overwhelming force, relying only on intelligence, courage, and careful planning. Back at the palace, Queen Larissa called a council meeting. "The human has proven his people's worth again," she said. "His actions show courage, wisdom, and selflessness. Humans are not as the stories claim. They are capable of greatness if given the chance." Some nobles were still skeptical. "One human does not prove an entire species," one argued. Queen Larissa's silver eyes flashed. "One human does not, but his actions represent the potential of his people. Humans act by choice, not instinct. They are unpredictable, yes, but that unpredictability is combined with courage and intelligence. That is why they are dangerous and why they can be trusted." Ethan was called before the council. He did not speak of glory or reward. He simply explained what had happened, step by step, focusing on how humans acted to protect others, how strategy and calm had saved lives, and how unnecessary destruction could be avoided. The council listened, some impressed, some still uncertain, but all forced to acknowledge the results. Later, the Queen spoke to him privately. "You have done more than I expected, Ethan Cole. You have protected lives, advised wisely, and shown courage. But the Empire is still cautious. There will be those who seek to test you, who doubt your people. You must continue to act with integrity, wisdom, and courage. I understand, Your Majesty, Ethan said. I will continue to prove that humans are more than fear and legend. We are capable of choice, courage, and trust. Days passed, and Ethan continued his work in the palace. He trained soldiers in human methods of teamwork, showing them how to move efficiently, communicate clearly, and protect one another. He helped servants organize supplies, ensuring that food, medicine, and water were available even in emergencies. He spoke with children, teaching lessons about courage, choice, and protecting others. The queen observed quietly, often without speaking. She saw how humans differed from other species. Humans did not act solely on instinct or hierarchy. They acted by choice. They considered consequences, and they valued the lives of others. That made them unpredictable, yes, but also formidable in ways the Empire had never fully understood. One evening, as Ethan walked through the palace gardens, the queen joined him. The garden glowed softly under alien lights, and small creatures floated lazily above the plants. "You have done well," she said. "The Empire is beginning to see humans in a new light. Many will continue to doubt, but your actions speak louder than words. You have changed perceptions here." Ethan smiled. "I am only one human, Your Majesty. But if humans act with courage and honesty, others may follow. That is how we show the galaxy our worth." The queen looked at the ring he had given her. "This ring was a symbol. You have proven that symbols matter, but actions matter more. You have honored it with your choices, and that is why I respect you." Ethan felt a deep sense of purpose. He had faced danger, chaos, and doubt, and survived not because of strength alone, but because of courage, calm, and the will to protect others. He realized that the true power of humans lay not in weapons or armies, but in choices. They could act wisely, even when fear was present. They could protect, even when it was dangerous. The queen's respect was growing, but the Empire's judgment was still uncertain. Ethan knew that more tests would come. There would be rivals, enemies, and skeptics. But he also knew that humanity had something unique to offer: courage guided by conscience, bravery guided by choice, and strength guided by empathy. As he walked through the glowing gardens that night, Ethan felt the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders. The Empire had begun to see humans differently, but he had more to prove. He had shown that humans could act with wisdom, courage, and compassion. Now he needed to show that humans could also inspire trust, protect the innocent, and stand firm against threats, no matter how powerful. The galaxy was watching. And for the first time, humans were beginning to show that they were not only capable of surviving, but of changing perceptions, one act of courage at a time. The palace was calm in the early morning light, but Ethan Cole could feel the tension in the air. Word of his actions had spread through the Empire. Some were amazed by what a human could do. Others were still suspicious, unsure if humans were truly capable of wisdom and courage. Queen Larissa had observed him for weeks now, and her judgment of humanity was changing. But today she would make a decision that could shape the future of the galaxy. A special council was called. Leaders from many planets arrived, their ships filling the space around the palace. Some came with hope, others with doubt. Everyone wanted to see the human envoy who had saved a colony, who had acted with courage, and who had challenged the old stories about his kind. Ethan walked into the council chamber. He moved calmly, with his hands visible and his head held high. The nobles and leaders stared at him, some with disbelief, others with curiosity. A few whispered, "He is only one human. How can he represent them all?" Queen Larissa raised her hand for silence. Her silver eyes scanned the room, then rested on Ethan. "This human, Ethan Cole, has acted with courage, wisdom, and honor," she said. "He has shown that humans are capable of protecting others, thinking clearly in danger, and acting without fear when necessary. The question before the council is whether humans are worthy of trust, or if they are to be judged only by fear and legend. One of the alien leaders, a tall being with metallic skin, spoke first. "Your Majesty, humans are unpredictable. One human cannot represent an entire species. How do we know that others will act as he does?" Ethan stepped forward. "I cannot speak for every human," he said, "but I can speak for myself, and what I have done shows what humans can choose to do. We act with courage, empathy, and reason. We protect others not because it is required, but because we can choose to. That is what makes humans strong." A murmur ran through the council. Some leaders were impressed by his words, others still doubted. Ethan knew he had to show more than words. He had to prove humans could act, even in impossible situations. Just as he finished speaking, an alarm sounded. Outside the palace, a fleet of hostile ships appeared. They were larger than the fleet that had attacked the colony weeks ago. Their intent was clear. They intended to conquer, to destroy, and to take the palace by force. The council panicked. Soldiers ran to weapons, nobles shouted orders, and the palace staff hurried to safety. Ethan did not move in panic. He walked calmly to the command console, analyzing the situation. The enemy fleet was faster, more numerous, and more heavily armed than the palace defenders. But Ethan did not hesitate. "We will not run," he said to the soldiers. "We will not panic. We will protect the palace and its people. Follow my instructions and we can survive without unnecessary loss. Focus on shields first, then strategic strikes. Evacuate civilians to safe areas. We act together." Some soldiers were unsure. They had never seen a human command with such confidence. Others followed, seeing the calm in his eyes. Ethan coordinated the defense with precision, using strategies he had learned from both human history and careful observation of alien systems. The enemy ships attacked quickly. Lasers lit the dark space, explosions rocked the palace, and some defenses were damaged. But Ethan remained focused. He moved among the soldiers, giving instructions, adjusting tactics, and ensuring that everyone knew their role. He directed shield generators to protect civilian zones, guided fighters to intercept enemy ships, and organized the palace staff to move supplies and assist the wounded. One enemy ship broke through the outer defenses and headed straight for the throne room. Ethan did not hesitate. He jumped into an interceptor craft and flew directly toward the ship. The enemy tried to destroy him, but his maneuvers were precise. Using human ingenuity and instinct, he disabled the ship's engines, forcing it to drift away harmlessly. The council watched in shock. A human had risked himself to protect the queen and the palace. No one had expected such bravery and skill. Some whispered, realizing that humans were more than the stories suggested. They were courageous, intelligent, and capable of protecting others in ways no one had imagined. After hours of battle, the enemy fleet retreated. The palace had survived with minimal damage, and the civilians were safe. Ethan walked through the corridors, checking on everyone, helping the injured and calming those who were frightened. Children clung to him, grateful for his protection. Soldiers bowed their heads in respect. Nobles whispered, realizing that a human had done what few could. Queen Larissa entered the command chamber. Her silver eyes softened as she looked at Ethan. "You have done more than save this palace," she said. "You have proven to the council, to the empire, and to me that humans are capable of greatness. Your courage, wisdom, and choice have changed the way the galaxy sees your people." Ethan bowed. "I did what any human would do, Your Majesty. We protect others when we can. That is all." The queen smiled faintly. "It is more than all of that. Humans act by choice, and your choice has made a difference. You have shown that humans are not only capable of survival, but of inspiring trust and respect. That is why I will honor this ring you gave me." She lifted her hand, placing the ring on her finger. It gleamed in the soft light, a symbol of trust and unity. The council watched in silence. Some were impressed, some skeptical, but all realized that humans had changed the balance of perception in the empire. One human had faced impossible odds and shown courage, intelligence, and empathy. That alone was enough to force a new understanding of humanity. Queen Larissa turned to the council. From this day forward, humans will be considered allies, not threats. They will be judged by their actions, not by fear, stories, or assumptions. We will observe, we will learn, and we will respect them. This human has proven that humans are worthy of trust. A wave of murmurs ran through the room. Some leaders nodded, others looked uncertain but thoughtful. The human envoy had done what centuries of diplomacy could not. He had changed the empire's view through action, courage, and choice. Later, Ethan walked through the palace gardens with Queen Larissa. The garden glowed under alien lights, floating creatures moving slowly among the plants. "You have done well," she said. "You have saved lives, inspired others, and shown that humans are capable of greatness. The Empire will remember your actions." Ethan smiled. "I only acted as a human should. We protect, we choose, we act with courage. That is all we have to offer." The Queen looked at him carefully. "It is enough, more than enough. Your actions have proven that humans can change the galaxy, not through weapons alone, but through heart, courage, and choice. That is the true power of your people." In the days that followed, the Empire adjusted its perception of humans. Nobles who had doubted began to respect them. Soldiers who had mocked them learned from their methods. Citizens whispered stories of the human envoy who had faced impossible odds, protected lives, and earned the trust of the alien queen. Ethan continued to live in the palace, not as a conqueror or ruler, but as a teacher, protector, and example. He trained soldiers in human ways of teamwork, calm under pressure, and protecting others. He helped servants organize supplies, guided children in lessons of courage and choice, and spoke to the council about human values. The queen observed silently, often without speaking. She saw that humans were unlike any other species. They did not act solely on instinct, fear, or hierarchy. They acted by choice, guided by conscience and courage. That made them unpredictable, yes, but also capable of greatness. One evening, as the sun set over distant planets, Queen Larissa approached Ethan. "You have done more than save lives. You have changed perceptions, altered history, and proven the value of your people. Humans are no longer seen as threats, but as allies, protectors, and equals. That is a rare gift in the galaxy." Ethan shook his head. "I only did what I could. Humans act because they can, not because they must. That is all we have to offer." The queen smiled. "And that is more than enough." She lifted her hand, showing the ring he had given her. "This is no longer just a symbol, it is proof. Proof that courage, choice, and honor can change the galaxy." Ethan looked at the ring, then at the queen, and realized that the small gesture he had made weeks ago had grown into something much larger. A single human, acting with courage and integrity, had altered the perception of an entire empire. The galaxy had begun to see humanity not as reckless or violent, but as capable of wisdom, empathy, and bravery. The empire would never forget this human envoy. He had faced impossible odds, inspired trust, and shown that humans were more than their stories. They were courageous, intelligent, and honorable. And for the first time, humans were not just survivors, they were changers of the galaxy. Ethan walked through the palace, looking at the stars, feeling the weight of what had been accomplished. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and dangers, but humans, when acting with courage, choice, and heart, could face anything. They could protect, inspire, and change perceptions. They could do what no other species could, act with conscience and bravery in the face of fear. And so, with the ring on the Queen's hand and trust earned across the empire, humanity had made its mark. One human had begun a new chapter in galactic history. One human had shown that courage, choice, and heart could conquer more than fear, more than legend, and more than war. The galaxy had learned that humans were dangerous, not because of violence, but because of their ability to act with bravery, wisdom, and conscience. Ethan Cole stood quietly, knowing that this was only the beginning. Humans had proven themselves worthy, but their journey was far from over. Still, for the first time, the Empire saw them as allies, as protectors, and as beings capable of greatness. And that was more than anyone could have imagined.